why should we conserve? And a lot of people are like, well, it's the right thing to do. We're going to protect our water supply. All those great, wonderful, socially acceptable things to say. But we wanted a more technical reason to explain as to why you should conserve. And I will fully admit, we stole the idea from a Sierra publication, which talked about a town in Colorado who had residents complaining because they were being asked to conserve, but their water rates were going higher. Like, why am I conserving if their water rates are rising? So they looked at, well, what would your water rates be if we hadn't asked you to conserve? So we started to look at it from that angle. But first, I should explain how we're getting the water now to give you some perspective. I know this is kind of hard to see, but it's a large infrastructure project. The way we meet our water conversion requirements right now is we get surface water from the city of Houston. Currently, we get it down from their east water plant, and then we bought capacity in this 96-inch water line. Then we built a 40 million gallon per day booster pump station that then takes it to all these internal distribution lines. This infrastructure cost us about $300 million to build. To meet our next conversion requirement, us, along with all of the authorities in the area, are going to do the Loop Mighty project. So it's going to take water from the Trinity River. It's going to be pumped then into dual 96-inch water lines. And then it's going to go into a canal system that'll take it to Lake Houston. From there, their northeast water plant is going to be expanded to 400 million gallons per day. And then from that plant, we will be taking into, I think it starts with like a 108-inch line, various degrees of pipeline across town to, again, all the various authorities, and then another booster pump station that will then take it into our internal distribution. This total project cost is about $2.2 billion. Our share of that is about $700 million. So when all our infrastructure projects are done, we're going to be about $1 billion into it. That gets us our water demand to 2040. So the question became, what happens after 2040? All of this is put into place. We can't change this at this point. It's too late to change anything at this point. But what do we do after 2040? One of the projects we'd always looked at is doing like Allen Street Reservoir, being aware of that, trying to get more water from syndication. There's various things we looked at. And that next large infrastructure project was going to cost us at least $400 million. So could we put that off? It's really what we started to look at. But we realized something that.
I think before you leave that picture, that's an interconnect between the two systems.
Right. Yes.
The vertical green line. So there will be an interconnect. Mm-hmm. And then remind me, I know we had discussions about sharing the pipe, but that pipe is dedicated to North Fort Bend.
This right here is dedicated to North Fort Bend. This right here is a shared pipe between West and North Fort Bend.
And then the North Authority is taken off of that.
Yeah, there's other pipelines that are shown here that like
right, they're not in this pipe. They're their own pipe coming off of the 108.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yes.
thanks.
Mm-hmm. So, like I said, we started looking at, okay, what can we cut off? And so we first asked the question, at what point are we built out? And we realized, based on our population projections, that by 2070, our area is pretty much built out. So then we just started backing off at the beginning. And it was actually a pretty simple calculation for us to come up with to say, if we could save 15% of our overall water demand by 2040, we don't have to do that next surface water project ever. So 15% saves us $400 million. That is a very scientific, but it's a very technical, real world reason to promote water conservation. So created this fun new logo, and this is why we're explaining why we're doing what we're doing. So how are we now going to meet this 15% water demand? I would like to say the first thing we tried to do was to fix our communications with residents. Wasn't the first thing we tried to do, but after we started, we realized that we needed to take a step back and look at how we communicate with our residents, because people don't know who we are, so they're not going to listen to us. about water conservation. Or people frankly don't like us because we're charging them more money, so we're not gonna get our message across. So the first thing we've been trying to do, this is pretty much how our communication flow, I would say, looks right now, or it used to look. We don't have a direct connection to residents, so we have to give information to the mud consultants, who then give it to the mud board, who then would pass it down to the residents. Or we would try to talk to the mud board directly, again, who would talk to residents. A few times we would try to do publication with residents directly. It was just kind of a big mess. Yes.
When you say we, Lindsay, are you speaking as the engineer? Like we say we, like the engineers had to talk to the authority, or that you're the authority?
The authority.
Okay.
The authority. There's not just engineering, it's the authority has attorneys and engineers and such. And so I use that as a whole.
Okay.
We try to talk to the attorneys and engineers and the operators for the mud districts. And you know how when you talk to one person, you talk to another person, you talk to another person. In the end, it's purple elephant instead of a pink rock. So our first step is really just been to streamline our communications with not only the MUDs and the MUD consultants, but also with the residents directly. And one of the ways we did that is we created a media campaign. Larry, the talking sprinkler, is our water conservation mascot. He is on everything that we do talking about water conservation because we wanted people to see Larry and we wanted them to think water conservation and they wanted to think about our message. We focus very heavily on outdoor irrigation. And I'm probably preaching the choir because that's the biggest waste, especially in our area. We could control the outdoor irrigation waste. We could easily get to that 15%. So Larry has a Facebook page. He has 2,300 likes on that Facebook page. I'm very proud of that. The Facebook page does things like giving out tips on your lawn. It gives out monthly percentages you should set your controller to. It links to interesting articles about water conservation. He has publications that we put out. I put some of our trifold inserts that again has tips and tricks on irrigation that we send out in both bill inserts and we also just hand out at events. He has commercials, which I wanted to show y'all. His first commercial, so if I can get the video turned on.
Video games.
Video games. And dog, there's a dog in the video.
Oh, great.
Yes. You said it earlier, I said, yeah, we nailed that.
That's great.
I'm like streaming.
You just need dog baby.
Dogs and babies.
Yeah.
So, and while he's turning that on, we also done just like single sheet bill inserts that we go to the residents as well. We have a mobile teaching lab. We'll take out to community events, to schools and such that it's a tricked out horse trailer essentially. And it has a lot of just, here's how water comes from the ground, here's how you can conserve it, here's how it's used. We're actually in a remodel of it right now. So we really try to put out just a lot of education because this area, conservation isn't well known.
Just the video is different.
Yeah, it's the only video in
See
the.
Larry finally.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, from one on
I tried to embed it in PowerPoint, and it was just an epic failure, so. That's not part of it. That's it. He does talk.
You got volume for him?
I can only say that he's been known to.
Make it happen with your mind.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah, it's just here.
Well, it sounds great over here.
Thank you so much.
We get the impression.
The kids and adults.
He is doing dog things.
Well, I know you didn't hear it. It's a pretty simple message. We started out with twice a week is all you need, which I know technically you probably don't even need that in a lot of cases, but we were just trying to get people to start.
Where was that shown?
Where was that shown?
I mean, where would I have seen it if I lived there?
If you lived there, it was on like 30 different channels on the cable channel, like HDTV.
So it was on the.
It was on cable. It was all over in the Fort Bend County area. I think some of it went into Sherman, and stuff as well.
You have it on your website as well? Or
We have that on our Facebook page. Right now, the website is just a landing page. It's something we'll probably work on more. And it takes you to Facebook, where it takes you to the North Portland Water Authority Conservation site. So Larry's done with something we're going to look more at doing on, but again, we just kind of heavily focus on a very simple educational message at first, just to try to get people understood. So then we tried to work on the communication with the directors. We created a water conservation committee. We asked all of the MUDs if they wanted to send a director as a volunteer to be on this committee to help us come up with what programs do they want to see us support. We very much wanted water conservation to be a community effort. It wasn't us doing everything as the authority. It wasn't the authority telling them they needed to do these things. It was us working together for a common goal. And this allowed them to be part of the process on what we were going to do. We had a couple of goals to create communication between us and the participants. And our goal was actually to create a 5-year implementation plan at first. We backed off a little bit when we came up with the toolbox, and I'll explain that. But I will say this was extremely successful. We had 25 volunteers, which 25 volunteers for me is fantastic. We met almost every month for a year, and we consistently had 20 people at those meetings. Everybody was very interested. Even if they weren't there, frankly, for water conservation, just to see what we were doing, they became a part of the conversation.
Were these all MUD directors?
They were not all of them. The majority of them was. We did some. We also had some of the operators, and we had some developers working in the area as well. And that was really good input to talk about the new development and how that could work there. And the operators who were in real life, this is how it would work in the field in your situation. So I can't say enough about that committee. They worked very hard and were fabulous to work with. So I always say thank you to everybody. So from that came out Larry's toolbox. There was a real interesting conversation about how much did the authority do, how much did the MUDs do, and who pays for what. And basically what it came down to was nobody could agree on that. Nobody could find a common, this is who should do it all. So we realized we were going to have to create a balance in how that was going to be funded and then who's going to do the work. And that's kind of how this toolbox concept came up. The way the toolbox works is we have 9 initiatives within the toolbox, and I will go into great detail of those 9 initiatives. Each initiative is a little different than if the authority does it or if the directors do it. And each initiative is worth a set of points. So if you volunteer for an initiative and you successfully implement it in 2016, then you will get points for that initiative. If you get 7 points, then you will get a 10-cent discount on our rate in 2017. So what that did is the districts are going to have to do some work. They're going to have to put up some funding. The authority is going to help fund some of these projects, and the authority is going to incentivize these water conservation programs. So it tried to get the full gamut of who's doing what to it. And this is all completely voluntary. So if somebody's really not interested at this point, they don't have to do anything. But then they miss out on that 10-cent discount. So the way the initiatives work is we present those initiatives at an annual workshop, and we've already done all this year. It's anticipated those initiatives will change from year to year. We may have a program right now that sounds fabulous, but once we get into it, it just doesn't work. We don't find it to be effective. So we may have to take things out. I fully expect that it will also grow. I already know of a few initiatives we weren't able to include this year that we'll probably include next year. The point system may change year to year, but we really, at this point, focused on 2016, and we haven't thought a whole lot about how it's going to change, but we just know it will. Each initiative came with a fact sheet, so we tried to make this as simple as possible and give out as many details as possible. So we created a Larry infographic that explained the program to all the districts, and I brought extra copies if anybody's curious about it. And then this fun 20-page document is the guide document to the toolbox. And like I said, every initiative has its own fact sheet that goes over what the authority will cover, what the district will cover, what kind of data we would like to see from that initiative, what we'll fund, what they'll fund, and what we're trying to accomplish essentially with that initiative. It also comes up with the goals for each initiative and how many points it's worth.
This is for the public.
Just yeah, we'll let them have it. Mostly we give it to the directors because it's going to be the directors that choose the initiatives for them, but we certainly handed it out to residents. The infographic is probably better for the public so they don't have to read all 20 pages. And also, just so we didn't really get too technical and stuffy, Bob Hatton, one of our board directors who's very, very into water conservation, he's going to talk to Mark tonight, presentation with me, wrote a letter to the residents and the directors, just casually saying this is why we're doing what we're doing with water conservation. So now I'm going to go into the 9 initiatives. These slides have a whole lot of details because I stole them from our presentation to the director, so I'm not going to cover everything, but I will hit the highlights. So our first one is the residents irrigation system evaluation. It is our WISE guide for that is covered in this toolbox. Anybody who's not familiar with WISE guides, it basically allows residents to get a free irrigation evaluation at their home. The authority actually took this a step further a couple of years ago, where we provide the free irrigation evaluation, but we also then give those people a $15 check for doing that evaluation. $15 doesn't sound like a lot, but it increased our participation in that program 200%. People will do a lot for $15.
That's 2 or 3 beers.
Yeah, we actually had to put a limit that you can only do an evaluation once a year, so that people weren't taking more advantage of that. The way this program works is the authority pays the administration fee. We pay for half of the evaluation. The MED has to pay for the other half of the evaluation, and then the authority pays the $15. It's worth 2 points, and the goal is you have to get 3% of your residential connections to do the evaluation. Again, I know sounds fairly low, but that's not average for the entities that are currently participating. And the goal for this year was not to make it too hard, thankfully, for people to do it. We wanted to get people hooked into that incentive. So we wanted to make all these goals very achievable for people. So 2% was very achievable. But they also can't just do it every day. The next one, oh, I love this picture. I still do it. This is what we're trying to avoid: fountains in people's front yards, accidental fountains in people's front yards. The next one is kind of a tie into that. It's the resident irrigation system upgrades. So if a person gets a WISE guide evaluation and then they do the recommended repairs, they are subject to a rebate up to $200, up to 50% of the cost. And this is something that the MUD has to fund themselves. The goal for this one is they must distribute $600 in rebates. We did also create a list of approved repairs, because we understand that somebody doesn't necessarily have to get a WISE guides program. If they want to be able to like replace their controller with a smart controller, they can do that, and they're subject to some rebate as well. But again, it's 50% of that cost up to number. It's worth 3 points. It's worth a little more because the MUD is putting their own money into it. High water user notification is a very popular program the world over. This is notifying residents who use high water. They can do, there's a lot of ways they can do this. 2 main popular ones we put out is to set a percentage, like contacting the top 10% of your users. We did ask that they do top 10% of like their residential users. Otherwise, you're just going to be hitting your commercial or your HOA every month. Or creating a threshold. That's actually pretty popular in our area, is to create, like, this is how much water the average person uses, so you're going to get notified if you're using more than that. 20, 30,000, let's just say.
Does it take lot size into consideration?
This one doesn't. Well, I mean, you could. I mean, if you wanted to get really complicated and say, this lot size, we're creating this threshold, this lot size, we're creating this one, you could. I don't think too many people, are probably going to do that. This one, again, the MUD has to do this one, but we are going to provide like an example letter that they can use. It's worth 2 points, and their main goal is that they have to do it. This one's good because the kind of data we're asking from them on this is they're going to provide us the number of letters they send out each month and that total water usage. So we can see if that total water usage of high users is going down or not. Conservation information is by far the easiest one for them to get. Basically, they're just agreeing that if we put out water conservation messages, they're going to pass it along. They'll put it on their website, they'll put it on their water bills, they'll put our bill inserts in there. But we also included the stipulation that they have to start putting the usage history on water bills. A lot of people already do it, but not everybody does. So this is just trying to give that customer that much more information to work with. It's only worth 1 point because we're doing most of the work on this one. HOA and golf course irrigation system evaluations. This is where they will have the irrigation system of a homeowner association evaluated. They have to look for things like broken heads, leaks in the system. Are they using the right type of head? Is there a better controller that they should use? Is the timing of their controller make sense? Kind of like a wise guys, but for the whole homeowner association. This one got a little complicated because the authority will fund 5 of these a year. If we fund it, you're going to get 3 points for it. If you go out and fund it yourself, you will get 4 points for it. We chose the 5 at random. We literally put the names in a hat and drew out 5 names. It was the only way we could see fairly to do it. A lot of people argued that we should do like the bigger ones because we get the biggest bang for our buck on that. But I didn't think it was fair to exclude smaller ones because they need to be conscious of their water use as well. So we did a random drawing for it.
Did you look at all HOAs, or did they have to put their name in the hat?
They had to put their name in there.
So you have good response to this one.
I had not as much as I would have thought, given that it's free if you get picked. I had 12 MUDs, and there's 80 MUDs in our district. Well, I say there's 80 MUDs, there's probably about 60 that are active, so I only had 12. But what I heard is districts were hesitant to put their names in there because they weren't sure they could get the homeowners associations to do it, even if they were picked. So that's something we're going to have to work on.
Lindsay, is there a criteria for what information is to be provided in that evaluation?
There is. It's pretty generic, but there is kind of a list of things that must be included. We also have an approved list of vendors that can do it because we don't want just anybody doing these things. We want to know that they have the experience, and I can tell you it's a pretty short list of those approved vendors. So this gets really complicated, so we have to create a flow chart. There's so many homeowner association and district scenarios out in our authority, and we have one homeowner association that covers 6 districts. And then I have another district that has 4 homeowner associations in there as well. And there could have been the situation where the homeowner association could have paid for it and got the points because they pay us directly, or there could have been the situation where the homeowner association pays them. There's no other way to answer all the questions without creating this flow chart that basically gets you down to how many points are you going to get and who's going to get those points. The next one is very similar to this. It's a homeowner association irrigation system water budget. It's not as involved as the evaluation, but it's basically looking at, okay, here's your acreage, here's the type of landscaping you have, here's the water we have in this area. Approximately how much water should you be using each month? Because a lot of homeowner association boards have no idea. So if they're watering 5 times a week, they don't know they're not supposed to be doing that. So this is just to give them a guide to say you're using too much water, or are you using too much water?
And this is for watering common areas,
Yes.
medians,
Yes.
parks, things like that.
Yes. Yes. So this works a little bit like evaluations. The authority is actually going to fund 10 of these. I didn't have to draw any agenda hat because I had exactly 10. Now it's a point. So if you have to break that this year, it's worth 2 points. If we fund it, it would be worth 3 points if they funded it themselves. There's also a historical component to both this and the evaluation. If they got an evaluation, let's say last year, we're not going to do it again this year. So we're going to give them points for that as long as they are making the repairs that were recommended as part of that evaluation. So with the water budget, if they got the water budget previously, they can keep these points as long as they're showing us they're trying to maintain that budget. It also had a very similar flow chart that the evaluation had. Effective water rates. Surprisingly, this was my most popular initiative so far to be signed up for. I really didn't think I was going to have anyone. And this one, the idea behind this one is to put in place effective tier rates. Most of our entities have tier rates. By no means could you call them effective as far as promoting water conservation. I literally have one that has a 10-cent difference between the rate structures. So we're not telling them what they have to do because I'm not taking that responsibility on myself. And there is not a publication out there that is going to tell you this is what your rates should be, or these are what your tiers should be. But what we've asked them to do is look at their historical data and use maybe the AWA and 1 Chapter 4 or the Alliance for Water Efficiency Network's forecasting model to look at their data to see what makes sense for them to promote water conservation. Is there a break, a natural break that makes sense for your blocks? What's the difference between winter and summer months? Are you putting in a cost difference between these rates that people are going to actually notice that? So they have to go through this evaluation and then actually set the rates based on that evaluation to get the 3 points. This is worth reading because it's a lot of work actually for them to do. So that it was a bit surprised that so many people signed up for this one. Rain barrels, everybody loves rain barrels. So this is of course one of our programs. We put the least amount of restrictions on this one because it's really a PR thing. We're just trying to get people to think about them. So it's up to the MUD on how they implement it. They can give away rain barrels. They can do a rebate for them as long as they are part promoting the rain barrel program. They have to do a minimum of 3 rebates. And of course, we're putting the stipulation that not all 3 rebates could go to the MUD directly. So actually had a limit on my daughter. Yeah. This program is worth 2 points. Okay, the last one is a bit of a controversial one. It's irrigation permit. The authority actually tried to do a program where they were going to enforce TCQ Chapter 344's irrigation rules for the entire authority. It would be a program where an irrigator would have to get a permit from the authority, get their plans reviewed for a new irrigation system, and then get it inspected to be sure it was put in as specified. To register, you had to show you were a licensed irrigator. All of this is in Chapter 344. The difference is TCQ Chapter 344 mandates this for anybody that has a population of 20,000 or more. Because we are comprised of MUD districts, no MUD district has 20,000. But as an authority, like I said, we have 200,000. So we thought it made sense that this is something we should try to enforce. We got a ton of backlash from the community when we tried to do this. So we've taken a step back and started working on some of these other communication and education things. We're putting it back in, but we're doing it on a volunteer basis. If you're going to be part of the program, you have to volunteer to be part of the program. Today, I don't have anybody who signed up for this. It's not exactly surprising, but I take it back. I did get one this week that actually signed up for this program. We were kind of expecting that. What we're trying to do is work with the development community and see if we can get a developer who wants to take this on and to show that it works and that there's a reason to do this. This has a sliding scale, 2 to 5 points, because since it's for new irrigation systems, it's going to be more effective in new developments. So if you're built out district and you sign up for this, you're only going to get 2 points because it's probably not going to happen much in your district. If you're less than 25% developed, you're going to get 5 points for this program.
That, the 20,000 residences pursuant, I guess the TCEQ made that rule pursuant to the law.
Yes.
So the law says 20, even though we have 600 and others that are out there with 5,000.
Yes.
So it'd be a good idea to include all those.
It went, that's a weird thing.
Which is not half the water and half the.
Yeah, that was kind of our thought. It's like, well, yeah, the months have less than 20, but as a whole, we have 200,000, so we need that criteria.
When you put them all together, it's a huge amount of water that's not being affected by the law.
Yeah, and actually, we did a study on this, where we took houses in one of our new developments, and we did like 10 houses where we didn't do an inspection on them. We did 10 houses where we did do an inspection on them. And then we actually did another 10 that had separate meters for irrigation and for, your domestic use. Didn't actually notice a big difference for the houses that had that separate connection. But there was at least a 20% difference in the summer from the houses where we did this inspection. And that's all we did differently, is that we did this inspection to make sure it was good.
Doug, did you have?
Yeah, the IAC is petitioning the commission to reopen chapter 344, and that's one of the things that will be
I
addressed.
think somebody's room is gonna handle
But, I mean,
it. That makes sense,
it's gonna take a while.
sure.
Well, there's been, even since in 2009, when the new rules came into effect, cities, TCQ does not have the authority to enforce that. And cities essentially say, you don't have the enforcement, we're gonna do. So the rules right now read 20,000 or more must, below 20,000 may. And so you can choose to do it if you create, all you have to do is create an irrigation ordinance that says, we're gonna do this, you're home free. So,
Yeah, and I know there are muds that have it.
We did it in the woodlands
Yeah.
years ago. This was one of those difficult
Yeah.
Policies or conservation and water efficiency practices to get approved by our level buds. It was a struggle, but, and of course, all of those are much less than 20,000, but cumulatively, it's just, I don't know why the elected officials were so reluctant to implement it. Well, I do know why that.
Yeah.
They consider it a burden on the residents
It's a rule.
and more regulatory requirements that was a struggle.
but what's really odd, it saves the end user money.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a question about the inspections. So you said 10 received inspections and 10 didn't. Was it the same home builder irrigation installer on both homes? So what was different? Did they have to show the design beforehand and get feedback on it and then get an inspection before the dirt was put on file?
I can answer that.
Yeah, so what was the material difference?
The whole initiative was for the contractor to turn in a design and then install it as per 344 rules. That was the whole deal, and then it would be looked at to see that it met those standards. Well, the contractor, for some reason, could not, he had a problem drafting, which is part of his license requirement. So the authority had to end up paying me to do a design, and then the individual had seemed to still not be able to read a design to put it in. And so the 20% that she's mentioning is coming pretty much solely from those systems are pressure regulated, as the rules currently state. Because we went out there, I don't know, this was, I can't remember the time frame, Lindsay, but we went out as a field trip for the committee at a later date, and they were still running 7 days a week because there was nobody in the house. So that 20% came pretty much from pressure regulation. To me, what 20% is huge. So it's, if that contractor wouldn't have been kind of held to the fire, there would have been no difference except for, I mean, just couldn't get it right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Like you're-
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, like I said, it's not something we've abandoned, we're just basically just starting it at smaller scale, and then once we get going, probably end up doing mandatory. Right now it's volunteer. So those are the 9 programs. summary, so basically you're eligible for 20 to 25 points. No reason anybody could not get 7 points with the program, again, because we're doing our programs, we wanted something easy to get something started. All the enrollment forms are due on Monday. We did extend the enrollment because, I have 30 enrollment forms so far of my 60 active. But so I'm very proud that people actually looked at this, saw it was a good thing, and they were willing to work with us on it. So it'll be interesting in the next year to see, now that they enroll, it's easy to sign up for something. You know, how they interact with us, how they took these things out, and who meets these goals. But we're going to be doing a lot of back and forth with them. So I'm pretty excited to see how this works out this year. That's it.
So the decrease in the discount on the rate lasts how long?
1 year.
And it
So
starts
then they
in
go back
2027.
to paying the other rate. Did you assume that there was a, I guess, either worst case or best case? Depending on
That's how we came up with the 10 cents, is we looked at, okay, what happens if we have 20% of our people sign up, how much do we have? 80%, you know, that we sign up for, and then we actually wanted to do 10%, was what our goal is, because that's our reuse reduction rate, so we're trying to keep it all the same. That was too much of an incentive for us to give away, so we backed it down to 10.
Did you have a number, if 80% of these people did the deal and got their credit, how much it would have cost the authority? Round numbers? A lot, though, I imagine.
Have you noticed the reduction in the water use since this has been implemented?
Well, like I said, the toolbox is new this year.
Okay.
So like I said, everybody's enrolling by February 1st. So all of this has not been implemented yet. So I'm very curious to wait to see how it happens. Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about the water budgets that you developed? How much detail did you go into?
Well, so we haven't done any of them yet.
Okay. How much detail do you plan on getting into?
We plan on getting into, like I said, it's gonna be a monthly, you know, water budget for them. And it's gonna have to be fairly detailed for it to be monthly. They're gonna have to understand, like I said, how much acres do you have, type of landscaping, type of controllers.
That's my question. Will you actually get into the level of detail about how much is turf grass, how much is flowering plants
Yes.
that require more water? Okay, so you'll break it down to that level.
Yes, and we have, again, we have a minimum scope for that. It's fairly generic, but again, we also have approved vendors that can do it, that we know will do that, and it's a very short list of vendors because of that.
Can you share who those vendors are?
It is H2O management. It is, no.
Okay, but they'll go out and inspect the property and develop it.
Yes, they will. They will. That was part of the reason, I didn't write the name, sorry. It was part of the reason we limited ours to 10, because we knew we could only do so much in 1 year. But it's also part of the reason we did more than we did on the evaluations, because we wanted to control more of it, I guess, on that part, because it's not as complex. You know, that's the evaluation.
Okay, one other, on the notifications to the high volume users, how will that be accomplished?
Through letters.
Just a regular snail mail letter
And their water bills. For now.
in the water bill?
And their water bills.
Okay, so not a separate
Oh, no,
letter,
I apologize. They have, it's a separate
a
one.
separate
It's
letter,
a separate one.
it won't be an insert in the water bill.
Right. Because then they would miss it.
So if I remember correctly from the kickoff meeting, you're gonna require folks that are participating to do water use data, so you all can go in and verify savings. And maybe even assign savings to different programs, or be able to figure out which programs are
Yeah,
more effective.
I didn't get into too much detail here, but like on the HOA evaluation, if they're doing it, they have to provide us with at least 3 years of historical data. Plus they have to provide us this year, plus they have to provide us the next 3 years.
Yeah.
I data as well.
I think that's one of the really cool things, well, the program, I think, is just really interesting in general, and it's very, really neat to see it get implemented. But that you all are gathering data and are gonna show what the savings are, or figure out which programs Get
We're gonna
savings,
try.
which one's down, and.
Yeah, we're gonna try, as we all know,
Yeah.
this water use data is a little hard still to figure out these programs because of weather and stuff. That's why we're trying to get 2 years frontwards and backwards so we can do the trending and see how it's gonna work.
And if you have savings expectations for, say a bud is doing programs, you know, to get them 7 points, and you're getting the data from them, but you're not actually seeing any savings, what happens?
Then, you know, at some point, we're gonna have to look at removing programs as a part of the work.
One more question, on the letters that will be sent out to the high users, what is the threshold again for who gets the letter?
Each of the month is gonna have to create their own,
Okay,
because one threshold is not going to work, obviously, for everyone. And again, they don't have to do a threshold, they can choose a percentage. I have some that are choosing a number, they're gonna do it to the top 20 residents, the top
Okay.
10 commercial and such, and then the ones who do the threshold, again, they're gonna have to develop that number and get it approved by us.
is the letter standardized that's going to residents, or is that the MUD's option to
It is,
create their own?
it is the MUD's options, we are creating an example letter. Like, I have one MUD who's very proactive, and they went way beyond on anything I would have created as an example, because it has all kinds of tips and tricks and stuff on there. There's also, like, there's some of these MUDs who are using high water user notification who's involved in our license. So their letter might state, hey, your high water user, you may think about getting this evaluation. But the MUD's not involved in water, obviously, they can't say that.
Question for you, it's actually a continuation of the question after Jennifer. In going into this, how much did you anticipate if a resident were to, through some miraculous means, be able to complete all of your steps and get the maximum number of points? How much would that resident stand to save? Or in general, or what were you thinking they could stand to save?
I said, we really didn't calculate that, because no one person is gonna have the same combination,
Right.
probably, of programs. So if you try to create something like that, just wouldn't have made a lot of sense. But also, as Jennifer said, there's not a lot of historical data for what some of these programs can say. You know, in general, it can, because the principle and how they work, but there's just not a lot of information out there that says, if you do this, you're gonna save 20%.
Right.
And such. So that's what you're asking is what we're hoping to try to come up with by getting the data on doing these programs. But doing these programs, I think, could easily reduce our overall water demands to 15% that we need if they're implemented successfully.
And so with that question, if you get to that 15%, how do your other stakeholders feel about the fact that a source of profit, whether they're profiting off someone's waste, negligence, or carelessness, that profit is going to be going away? How are all the other stakeholders involved? How do they feel about that?
Well, I'm understanding you're basically asking, how do they feel if our revenue is going to be reduced?
Correct.
You know, because of water conservation. I think the 15%, say 400 million helps that, because while it's highly possible doing this water conservation right now could raise our rates slightly, and we've looked at that, so we've looked at that. But in the end, by saving that 400 million, it's not near as high as it would have been if we had to do that infrastructure. So a 5 to 10 cent increase now, because we're saving this, is better than the $1.50 it would have to be increased for doing the work. It still doesn't convince everybody because it's short term versus the long term, and not everybody pays attention to the long term. But to be honest, it really hasn't come up much. Nobody really questioned it too much yet. I'm sure we'll have.
It doesn't seem like an area that's growing as fast as this. You still have people to buy the water. It's not like the population is staying static and you just have less water to sell. You can still sell it, for people to buy it. But there's a lot of factors behind that.
Jennifer, to follow up on that, but like you said, you're gonna triple your population over the time in that 400 billion. So all the new customers, you know, what makes them be at a level that these others reach their initiative? They have no incentive.
They don't, but some of that is.
They'll do stuff maybe more efficient.
Right, as some of that's working with the developers to make sure things that, and conservation, we're not putting all of our eggs in one basket for 15%, I'll be real honest. We're also looking at a lot of reuse programs as well. That could make up 15%.
Yes, I
And
wanted to ask you how you were doing with the developers.
yeah, we're doing pretty well. The authority has a reuse incentive. Actually, we have 2 reuse programs. If you fund a reuse program, then you're gonna get a 75 cent per 1,000 gallon credit on your bill from the authority for the meter reuse. We also have a couple that we're working with where they want to do a reuse system, but they don't have the body capacity to put it in. So the authority is actually funding the infrastructure for that reuse project. But we own those reuse facilities, and so we're gonna charge the customer for that reuse water at like 10% less than our pumpage fee.
You said 75 cents per thousand? And is that last until the debt is retired on the project? Or longer than that?
Our term in the contract is if you use bonds for the life of the bond, or if you use the cash, it's a repayment calculation with interest trying to be equal to that bond.
To make it pay for the stuff over.
Seems like the authority has had pretty good response rate in getting people, MUDs to apply to the actual program. How can you tap into communication among the MUDs themselves? And the reason I ask that is, thinking back when the results of the Goldwater project were shared with Region H, just seeing some of the chest puffing that was going on there, just kind of tapping into that competitive spirit. How can you really make that work to your benefit to get people kind of playing amongst each other, really playing conservation savings?
One of the things we're actually going to do is the incentive is going to be given as a rebate check, not actually a discount on the bill. And there's a few reasons for doing that. One, we have a bunch of regional systems, so it made it easier to get the incentive to the person actually doing it, not through the master MUD. But also, I can show a master rate check that this MUD is getting because they got that 10-cent incentive, where this MUD did not get that. We're also going to look at maybe doing some awards for the MUDs because there are MUDs who signed up for 13 points out there. So if they go and get it, I don't see any reason we should recognize them for going above and beyond. And it's actually something we've already done once in our Wise Guys program. We had a MUD who hundreds more evaluations than anybody else, and we gave them a 40 water conservation award for doing that. So I imagine this is going to open up the ability to do more of that. So you get kind of that competitive nature.
Sounds like a great idea because increasing data is showing in other parts of the world on individual level. If you know where your neighbors are, you kind of compare water use that way. That really affects your behavior. So I would imagine if you take the macro scale, look at the MUD scale, then there will probably be some changes there that really improve the bottom line.
What size staff and consultants or help have you had to develop this program and implement it?
That's not that lie.
Right.
The authority itself doesn't have any staff.
Right.
So product engineer is the program manager. AVHR is their attorney. And then they actually work with Depot some on consulting with like irrigation permitting and stuff. So at Brown and Gay, we probably have about 4 or 5 people who generally work on the authority. As far as water conservation, it's just really me and then one other engineer that does it. And then one of the attorneys kind of helps us do the legal side of it. So there's 3 or 4 people who are really involved as far as putting this together. And actually, we just hired a new spokesperson that's going to, again, help with that communication stuff and where her goals is working with homeowners associations and stuff. To really get this message out there.
And then you have consultants help do graphic designing or
We have a media consultant up in Dallas that we work with who helped us create Larry and helped us create all of his art and such. Larry is also available to share if anybody's interested. I didn't want to pimp him out at this meeting, but he was created with the idea, like the authority's name is not actually on most of his publication because we thought if there's else we're creating, if anybody else is struggling or needs some help, it's something we would be willing to work with somebody to sharing.
Yeah, I really like the program. It's very interesting. Water conservation is very tough to get people to buy into.
Yes.
So I guess I'm not familiar with that area. So what percentage, you said there's 30 that find it. So what is that percentage of overall ones that are going to participate?
I would say it's about 10.
Not too bad.
No, really, this is so new. I had no idea. what to expect and give us some relationship with the reporting.
And then to add to that, so it looks like pretty much will be tracking all of that information if somebody has to validate that it's working, that they're doing what they, so how's that piece going to work?
That will be done with my great assistant that I work with, Shannon. Actually, no, that's one of the reasons we hired like the spokesperson, so that we can have somebody focus on the education and like Shannon can focus more on the data. You know, side. So one person isn't trying to do it all, but it's, I don't think I have a full answer yet. We're gonna have to have Steve, you know, as it's coming in. We've got a ton of spreadsheets set up, and we've got a bunch of forms set up, trying to be as organized as possible, but it's definitely gonna keep Shannon busy, just logistically keeping up with that data.
I was just curious, but that to me seems like a real challenge to get all that information.
It's
It'll
going to
be
be,
like, you'll have all these results that I just shared.
that is the hope, and we put in some deadlines, like it goes through December, but we asked by October, give us whatever you have, so we can start early and try to compiling all of this information. We know for that October, November, December month, we're just going to be busy compiling, understanding, trying to understand what all this is.
Did you have any discussions about implementing regulations that limit watering to no more than twice a week?
We did.
Short discussion.
It was a long discussion. Some of our challenges, the authority, is we don't have a direct connection to residents. So if we said you can only water twice a week.
No, if a MUD were to implement that sort of program, giving them some points.
Oh, yes, we do have a caveat to this. If you're doing a program that's not in here that you think you deserve points for, we created a form that they can fill out the information and request points for that program. Yeah, we did account, we don't anything for everything. So we did account for any of those additional type programs that they could ask for points for. And we have one MUD who has actually created a guideline for irrigators in their district. And employees have the ability to get points and put a lot of work into that. So yeah, we covered that. I do have goodies over there for my months. We've got some conservation lawyers or trifles and the infographic. He's got candy.
Feed them so they take them away from this place. Any questions? Let's go over here.
The 20-page document that goes along with the one pager, keep it on the website.
You can ask me for it. Just our website is so full of documents. I have a very hard time directing you to it. In fact, we're actually redoing our website trying to make it easier. So it'd be easier for you to just email me and I can send it to you. And I have business cards and such to go on.
As usual, I tell, like some of them, that having been involved in the buying thing for many years, it's not a coming thing. It never was going to happen here. I'll say this gently, Jim. We have criticisms here in the county about changing the surface water, and a lot of criticisms about how people in Harris County and Winoka County get all the groundwater they want. Right? You hear that?
I hear that, but it's.
Well, I just wanted to mention
Disingenuous, I think.
400 million gallon plant, it's gonna be 2 billion, to be shared by the authorities in the city. 180-inch pipe, that's just one of the two. The North Authority is gonna spend probably another $1 billion on their distribution all the way out to, I guess they're coming from Lake Houston all the way to
Yeah.
Small Middlebrook,
Somewhere in that area.
where the HLNP or the interview, whoever loves that name. That's a long way, it's gonna be 108, 98-inch pipe all the way out. So we're talking probably total $3-4 billion to get all the 2015 and 2010.
Yeah, 2.2 is the overall number I've heard, but I don't think it includes that one.
And the loose bayou and the canal itself.
No, that includes, the plan is 1.2.
But anyway, I think that kind of belies the fact that they're doing what they want to do down there, and that they're doing a lot to remedy the situation as well. I wanted to, the signs, I wanted to remind y'all, we have those pumps, this yard is helping to conserve our water supply. The Woodlands kind Bob and I have one in our yard, proudly displayed. So anybody that wants those signs, we have a lot of them left. All we were doing is basically the woods is still asking that their outreach programs, if you just sign a pledge saying you want water, state, fill this thing, basically. Is there. So those are available, and we have a lot of them. If you want to get some, just let us know. Again, it's up to you how you distribute those. We don't want everybody to have one while their sprinklers running in the rain. But there are efforts made to slow down the water use, and those signs are available to put in your yards where it's legal. Want to repeat what you said about the annual water service? Did you?
It's we used to have a 1 day or 2 day water festival for about 20 years. In the last 5 years, we've had a 5-day water week at the Waterworks Education Center, which is, you don't know where that is, it's at the Northeast Water Purification Plant. And we do have some fabulous, nice black new fences as part of that expansion. We have about 500 kids each of those 5 days visit. And we have outdoor exhibitors, environmental groups, city people, big rigs of all sorts, and as well as tours and things going on indoors. So it's been fabulously received by the education community of the Houston region. But we're always looking for more exhibitors and more sponsors, and would love to have you come. And this would probably get you there. We feed you lunch and give you a t-shirt. April 25th to 29th.
Then when we were, just before I forget, two things. One, please sign the sign-in sheet so we can have a record of your attendance. And you only need to put your email address if this is your first time. If I don't have it already, if you didn't receive it, the next network meeting will be the 25th of February. We'll have an announcement as to who that is. And also, prior to this meeting, several of the members talked about the upcoming Gulf Coast Symposium. So you want to kind of update real quickly when that is, and remind us what we did last year, and we'd like to do it again, so better and bigger.
Okay, so here I'll start this. Yeah, so the Gulf Coast Water Conservation Symposium this year is going to be on March 9th, and we're going to get the materials up by Monday. We're just finalizing the agenda today, just having a couple things to iron out. It's going to be at the United Way Center again because it's free. So that makes a conference affordable. It's going to be $45. So we have we've got a researcher coming in to talk about water demand trends across the U.S. and water conservation and how water is used inside and outside of the home. He's done a whole bunch of studies on that. Peter Mayer and Jason is going to talk about the new region H plan and what role water conservation plays for folks for our future water supply in this area. If they don't already know, believe it or not everybody knows everything that's in the region H plan. Lindsay's going to talk about the report then, and it's going to, I think we're going to have a good conversation on it. You'll have a little more time too, and Bob Pat will be there, and you'll have a lot more people in the room, so it'll be great, and you'll know how many people you have enrolled at that point.
Yeah.
So, and like what kind of programs they've signed up for. I'm real interested to know which of the toolbox is the most popular part. And then we're going to do quite a bit on outdoor watering, and then communicating with customers using digital media and marketing and effectively. So I think it's going to be really good. I want to thank folks in the room that have been sponsors in the past. I know that Lone Star Woodlands always is from the very beginning has been a sponsor. This is the fifth one that we've done, which is really cool. So I have information in case folks are interested in being sponsors. If this is like, low ball sponsoring, like any, $250, $500. But it helps keep the cost low, so staff from utilities are able to attend. So if anybody wants information, let me know. And you can look at texaswater.org for information on the agenda, and to register, it should be up hopefully by Monday. The webmaster is as responsive as I want him to be. So
You were twice last year, so.
Yeah.
Register,
yeah, and we
It's
still
also
that.
very accessible.
Yeah, we did fill that. And I'm also, a lot of y'all were at the SWIFT workshop that we did, right after the holiday, and we're looking at, the group that put that together is looking at doing some more, and looking at, Fort Bend County for one of them. We don't have dates set yet or anything, but, we wrote to Carlos Rubenstein into helping us out with that, and he came out very enthusiastic and wants to do more. So,
Even in Spanish.
yeah, he wants to do one in Spanish.
Yes, yes.
So,
So by the way, would anybody be interested from here, from this audience, to just have an idea, Spanish-speaking folks in this group? Would they maybe raise your hand if you speak Spanish too? No, you're like trilingual, right? All right, so that helps me to have a little bit of an idea.
Yeah.
Probably have to do an assessment to feature. That would be,
well, Carlos was from the Valley too. They're probably a lot more Spanish speakers there
That's true.
than right here. So anyway, let me know if y'all, and then I'll leave these up front if people want to pick up sponsor forms.
Central Texas is doing theirs.
Oh, that's right, on Tuesday, the Central Texas Water Conservation Symposium. And I didn't bring the agenda, but it's a good one too, and it's filling up pretty quick. There's also a House Central Resources hearing up there that day, very exciting stuff on some very interesting water topics. So a lot of folks are coming up for both of those.
It's gonna help us,
I don't remember what the topics are.
well, it help us no matter what.
Yeah. I don't know, it's always a mixed bag.
The House,
The House is better than the Senate,
that's true.
generally speaking.
If I mentioned AWBD, you take on that responsibility, because that's really who I'd like to be. Some of these symposiums, what directors, Mr. Dennis always brings a handful, but they're kind of ahead of the curve too, so we need to push that. Put it out there.
Yeah, I don't know how to get if we could get it at somebody that has a contact at AWB to send the announcement out.
I heard Jim Stinson knows a lot of
You
people.
hear that? Yeah.
There's only three employees at AWB
That's
that
right.
I know of, so,
The general manager still the same lady?
yeah. Very good.
I've known her
Taylor
for
and
75 years.
Well, you see,
Well, I
well, I feel like you should be able to get it.
just, I'm not old. We'll talk about that. I think we can get her to help us push that out. We always try to do AWBD stuff. I know they talk about conservation, but I think it would be good to have. Anything else?
ASCE would be interested in getting involved in that as well.
Who?
ASCE.
Yeah, that's true. Sometimes we forget about those people.
I do their volunteer.
I was gonna say, are you
involved? But I'm here because I'm interested in those things.
Yeah.
Collaborate with you guys, so I have volunteers for both of you guys.
Well, if you want to get your contact information, I'll make sure you get the information about the symposium, and you can help us push it out through there. That would be great.
We had 150 people last year. Running out of space, actually, so.
Yeah, I mean,
Sell out.
we have a big room, we have a big free room.
And I'll put Doug on the spot. Again, Doug's a master irrigator and involved with the investigation. Trying to be careful what I said here. But he's worked a lot in the field of these inspections, et cetera. But one thing we've talked about in the last few months, we don't get to see each other very often, but it's in doing all these inspections, found an alarming number of systems with no backflow for them. Now, one you kind of.
Well, that's just something that, I mean, we're sure talking about trying to improve the efficiency of irrigation, because there's no doubt that's if you look at the concrete, it's gray and that's where it's going. But something that's, and there's programs in place and everything, but the protection of this potable water population is man, they're coming to Texas faster than we can get them on the moving van, and it's you know, if we don't pay a little bit more attention to that, I'm scared to death what's gonna happen. We're gonna have an incident like, I don't know if y'all remember in San Antonio, someone actually died, and that's how backflow got started in the San Antonio area. We need to pay a little bit more attention to protecting it. And it's just anywhere you connect into a potable water line for water that's not it's gotta be protected.
So is
And
that still required that the plumber do that?
no,
Licensed plumber, so licensed irrigator?
plumbers and irrigators can do it on irrigation, plumbers do it on everything else. Pretty much kind of it.
But I mean, that kind of brings us back to, would be neat to get a permit.
Well,
Have it inspected when you're putting all those systems in.
well, most of your commercial stuff is, but even on residential, where you're not pulling a permit on irrigation, it's part of your license as a licensed irrigator. You're supposed to have that tested and turned into the water authority. Well, guess what? Nobody knows where to turn it in unless you have some type of program.
Well, like I said, it's important because that backflow obviously protects the system in case of reduced pressure in the system that backs up and carries whatever fertilizers and nasties that you might have put into the irrigation.
And no offense to all the attorneys in the room, but they're gonna be the only ones that win when something goes south for this attorney. Oh, I'm sure there's a few here somewhere. But they're always there whether you want them or not. One more thing, I know everybody knows it rained like cats and dogs all spring, and then in some places all the way through June, and then it just shut off. And I know everybody experienced in September, it went berserk with all of a sudden, for some reason, everybody's water bills doubled and tripled, but they didn't use the water. And we've looked at close to 10,000, we're over 10,700 systems. I haven't found one yet that didn't use it. And my gist of all of this is some utilities are cowering down to the general public. Please stand your ground, because we have one city in particular that, man, I mean, I'm talking tens of thousands, maybe $100,000 they've spent on trying to prove that their meters are good. And I mean, even as far as to put them in a truck and drive to Florida and check them the third time when they've already been checked. And it's not the meters, it's in the individual user. And so in that particular case, none of us won, because I guarantee when it rains again and it shuts off and they start watering, they're going to go through the same thing again, because there was no lesson learned. And most of you stand your ground. I know that for a fact, but please do, or if you know one that's not, please encourage it, because it's not good for anybody.
I mean, I know, but I'm just saying, you're in the business.
Right, I guess they have never, people don't like their electric bill anymore. They
No,
like their water bill.
No.
Yeah.
But they get heat in there. Anything else?
Nobody complains about their gator bills.
Yeah, we're proud of your program,
and I'm so proud of what y'all stand up before you leave, so I can, again, keep the nice food. I appreciate this co-bar again.
Yeah.
And of course, that, that thing about, we talked about how.
You never know. Real good. I like it. But it'll pick up. All right.